Now I finally understand why mom and dad left. Mom graduated from Tsinghua University in Beijing, which is like the Harvard of China. And they were very uncertain if they would even be able to find a job, right? And I think dad wanted to further his education, but it was so competitive. I remember him sharing a story when we were young. He was like, why do you guys never study? And he actually recently had a nightmare where he was like, oh, I had a nightmare where, you know, I failed the exam. I woke up, I had a headache. And he's like 66 now. You know, he's still having nightmares about not passing this exam.
Yeah, the gaokao. Well, that's the eldest of 3 sons, and he would share stories where they struggled to have the money to buy rice or any kind of meat or vegetables. So he was always very much like, oh, you gotta study super hard and like excel in school, which he managed to actually be top of his class in academics, which is an impressive feat. But like our parents were kind of left to themselves because they grew up in the hutongs. We actually got to go visit those hutongs back in the day. I remember seeing like, whoa, this is where they grew up. Like,
yeah, no, that's when I realized like that's why mom and dad would always just subtly make these comments of like, oh, you guys have it easy. Oh, 我小时候那么惨那么苦. And I just could never wrap around it or understand.
Yeah, because China also had a famine too. Like, people struggled to eat.
Dad first came to the USA, what was it, 1988? Yeah, 1988. This is when China was a little unstable. So Pops went to Oklahoma first.
Yeah.
And then Mama came a year later. And then Mom and Dad had us in 2000.
12 years after they first had our older brother in 1988. The contrast is that we grew up in the suburbs of southeastern Michigan in a comfortable house and just a more financially stable, but for them, they didn't even know when their next meal was coming.
We were in a pretty big house, 2-story, 4-bedroom, in a decent neighborhood of Detroit, Michigan.
Canton, Michigan, to be specific, but in the suburbs of Detroit. We struggled with emotional regulation. This looked like violent outbursts over small indifferences and not being able to reach an understanding because there's always this like, 你应该这么样, 你应该这么样, and then we had this like rebellious or defiant sort of, 我不想要, or like, why should I? Or, you know, very much like talk back to parents like, you know, why should we be this way? And we were actually met with a lot of beatdowns. Like, they were definitely pretty willing to smack us. I remember after a game, Dad got home and like kicked me in the back of the head, like pretty hard.
I remember seeing that, Brennan. It still like flashes in my mind. I just remember being so traumatized from seeing that. Like I thought your head literally like fell. Well, first of all, I think the biggest contrast is that we grew up around American homes and American friends, where their families were really, or at least from the outward looking in to their family, they seem stable, happy, supportive, right? They go home, mom and dad comfort them, and they seem like this happy family. But after school, we would go to their homes and see, you know, there's snacks on the table for them. They're cooking food. Mom and dad cooked us food too, but it was also very like warming, you know, welcome home, rather than like we come home, they're like, 你在干嘛呢? 你怎么不在, you know, studying, or like, I don't know. It was just always a really like aggressive.
Well, talk about your figure skating career. You're a competitive figure skater.
You know, being a girl being a daughter of Chinese parents, they really like to control me, right? So anything that I like to do, like I love drawing, I love dancing, but they always wanted to like monetize it. Stuff like drawing and dancing is useless, even though like this type of stuff brought me joy. I mean, I'm grateful mom, right, supported me in figure skating, but then she really kept steering this way of like, go towards the Olympic, because then you'll earn lots of money. Like, it never processed in my mind, oh, like I can make money from figure skating. And I remember when I got homeschooled and I wasn't performing as well, Dad and Andy started to get really aggressive. They're like, you know, you're wasting so much of our money. Do you know how much of an investment this is for you to go ice skating? And I'm like, what? Like, I started when I was 7 years old, and it got serious when I was like 12 or 13. Like, I don't know that much about the financial world and, how this works. And they never disclosed to me how much figure skating cost. But little did I know I was kind of like, I felt like a stock, like, if you buy into me and I'm going to...
You're gonna be our ticket to glory, really. I remember just like the pressure. I mean, I was getting hockey training lessons, and it was like, if you're not the best, why even do it? There wasn't this for any reason of fun. Like, that did not exist.
Yeah, it was always some type of
fun or leisure. Not a thing in the household. It's like everything has to have a purpose, to earn money or to bring value.
But obviously, when we were younger, I never understood that up until we came back to China to see how they grew up, right? Like, again, like this scarcity mindset, like their traumas and how they were trying to survive in the economy. And it makes sense, right? How they're like, okay, you have to go to school, get this job, and right? Because back then, the American dream was real, right? You get a job at a white collar company, some corporate job, right? That's stable, and you can invest that money, grow. I mean, this is still a little bit the case now. Not really, but it makes sense.
For context, Dad's father was in aviation, and there was some tie-in with the government, being in aviation, and it's well regarded to have a government position in China, and Dad recognized the importance of a stable job, so he, upon graduating with a bachelor's in electrical engineering, went to... Mom was electrical, Dad was mechanical engineering, right? He went to Oklahoma State University to pursue his graduate degree in thermodynamics. And that move to the U.S. was like a huge step, right? And this was, again, 1988, right before a tumultuous time in China's history with lots of protests. But Andy, being our older brother, being born in that condition, like, here our parents were, like, just having him, and then Mom joined Dad to the U.S. in 1989. And so Andy was just left to himself. To be looked over by our nai, yeah. I mean, us growing up, he would constantly tell us, like, like, you two are spoiled brats, like, you have it so nice, like, man, like, there's just like a lot of resentment too.
Do you realize how much suppression there was in the household? Like, they never informed us of this, right? Like, why they left China, or ever taught us about how they grew up. They were just so focused on, like, you have to go to school, you have to study, this is the only way, right? Like, if you don't, like, F you type, right? And we were always just sitting there like, why does it have to be like this? Like, we just wanted to know more.
Go to school, get a job, have a family, and be comfortable. Like, that is the playbook that we had to follow.
But I do remember asking about, like, China, or being a little bit curious. I don't know, there just was never no education on their background and our cultural background, right? I mean, the most cultural thing we had exposure to was the food that we ate.
In our household, we felt very little warmth, or rather, love wasn't expressed verbally, and some of our American friends, right, were very expressive in their love, and we would see media where parents would tell their kids, "I love you." We never heard those words, ever. like, granted, it took us later on to recognize, like, they showed love through acts of service. 爸爸会把一些水果，切水果啊，吃点西瓜。
Yeah, 送我们去学校, pick us up from the airport.
Yeah, because we went to a charter school for 9 years, and like, Dad would constantly remind us, like, I do all this for you. 我多辛苦，我都是为了你们。And it was difficult to learn how to express gratitude too, because gratitude was just never shared. I mean, even our parents never thanked each other. They never said thank you. It was like Dad would cook at home, and Mom would be like, 哎呀，这真难吃，哎呀，放盐太多。
Yeah, and then when Mom cooks, Dad's like, oh my God, like, you're just so lazy cooking the basic stuff. Yeah, we never, and I mean, I remember seeing lots of violence between them two too. That was scary. Like, I remember Dad, they just got in a really bad fight, and there's a whole bottle of vinegar, and he just, from across the room, kitchen, and then, all this glass. I remember it landed in me. And I remember at that time, I never realized how much like pain I was going through as a kid, unexplainable pain that I was unaware of, right? That when the glass came flying at me, I was like, wow, this kind of feels kind of nice. Like I kind of want to like, you know, lay in it or like crush it. It was weird. And I remember, right, like not having this type of support in the household when I either would get bullied with kids at school, come home, try to talk to mom and dad about it. They don't understand. I didn't know how to hold it. I remember like also breaking glass because I saw my dad would break it. And I remember like, you know, just seeing blood. I'm like, yeah, this feels good.
Yeah, it's like almost like the physical pain was a mask for the emotional pain we felt. And there really lacked that emotional regulation, right? We didn't learn how to talk about our feelings or handle trauma. I mean, we were like being faced with adversity and even like instances of bullying or people treating us differently, and like being able to talk to mom or dad about it. Like they didn't even care about it. They're like, well,
remember,
are your grades okay?
Remember,
stop being sad.
Remember the European trip? This was last year, right? We were walking down the streets, me and dad got in a fight because I was like, Dad, I want to really talk to you about some of the things, you know, as a child when, because I always try to give mom and dad another chance of like, okay, maybe if I try to explain some things I've been going through, maybe they could give me that support. Obviously now we don't go to our parents for this type of emotional support. But on that trip, we got in a fight because dad was like, what do you mean? Like, I was a bad parent, you're just trying to say I'm a bad parent, you know, because I wasn't there for you or something. Like, he couldn't just process that or accept that we were bullied, right? Some of the things that I would tell him, that how we were treated by kids, he's just like, goes right through his head. It's like, I don't know how to, you know, comfort you, Emily. If we want to confront and talk about something that's bothering us, I think they took it personally too. Let's just sit down and try to like understand why we're feeling this way, validate it, and then think of a positive way. There was never that type of regulation.
To reach an understanding. Being able to receive feedback is a quality that requires the ego to kind of step back for a moment and just like understand what is being addressed here. You know, is your child communicating a need? You know, is it like a reflection on, say, your own behavior? And I think, like you're saying, you know, when we're saying, can you show us love in this way? Or rather, like, if you're doing this wrong, you know, they're like, well, I'm doing my best. Why aren't you appreciative? And that is then taken as like an offense. And it's like, well, I know I'm doing the right thing. You know, it's just like a consistency to stick with that without even trying to reach an understanding. It's always about being right or correct in the household rather than to reach an understanding or some kind of middle ground.
The expectations and the standards that our parents, immigrant parents, have set on us, right? Let's say the generic, you know, study well, go to a good university, get a good job. Anytime we would fall a little bit off gear that, right, that's when the household would get extremely chaotic and we'd be really rebellious. I think it didn't help when our friends wouldn't study that much and already getting bullied of being like, oh, you're Chinese, like all you know how to do is study. Why come out and play? Just go home and study. That I would be so against studying, right? That I never want to study, and then mom and dad would like just get so pissed. I'm trying to like remember more of like why I wanted to do everything that mom and dad tell me not to do, right? Did you ever have that phase? The fights that I would have, like they're like, oh, you should also stick with someone like your ethnicity if you want to find a partner, Chinese, and I'd be like, no, I will never end up with a Chinese man. Like I hate you guys so much. I hate China so much. You know,
I mean, even on trips back to China, like I came back in 2014 to go to Tibet, 2017 to go to the south of mom, and you're like, I would rather stay here. You were rejecting that Chinese identity. Oh yeah. And it was like a time of just sheer rebellion. I think what it was that, because there were lots of shouting in a very tumultuous household, Child Protective Services had made a few visits to our house. And mind you, like being in the suburbs, like there's enough spaces between the houses.
Yeah. And we were screaming like bloody murder in the houses every fucking day.
Hear us. And like as kids we were like, oh, everything's okay, like we don't want to see mom or dad like get taken away, like, you know, they're providers for us, and like like that's scary. Like no one wants to see their parents hauled off, and like and well, the thing was like their way of discipline was through hitting us. And when CPS came and told them that was unacceptable, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to like rally us in, right? There was no way. And this was something Andy would say, was like, you kids are so undisciplined, mom and dad let you do anything you want. And the way that looked like was constantly defying their wishes, right? It was like oh well, if you can't beat us, I'm untouchable. I can do whatever I want when I want now. In a way, I think like their hands-off approach allowed us to like learn a maturity earlier on of like a self-dependency. Like I remember like exploring the neighborhood and when I was 8 years old, like biking around, biking to the library on my own, and like I took some of my neighborhood friends and their parents were like, where did you go? Like, why'd you go so far? Like, you're not allowed to hang with Brendan anymore. And I was so sad. But like even in our teenage years, we were very rebellious. Like, do you want to share about the parties we were throwing and the winger bangers and like how you were like throwing those?
Honestly, I think the partying phase was a way for me to cope with all of this going on. Getting to substances and alcohol, it felt very like, I felt like that was the only way that actually released a lot of this, suppression and trauma that was unrealized trauma that was going on in the house. I've always had this deep hatred slowly growing from my parents that every time they left to Chuchai, which is go on a work trip, I'm like, you already know, we're gonna rally a bunch of people, open house, open crib, everybody come through, pull up. But also that was because I wanted to be liked by all of these people, right? Like I felt like my parents at home don't like me. And it was very, honestly, like I just remember me and you being very competitive with each other. Same thing with Andy. Like I've always just felt like I need to like one up you guys. I need to be better so that I can be more loved or more accepted. And part of me really being anal about throwing these parties, right? It was because I just wanted friends to like me, right? Or I was so tired of all these comments, hate comments too, that I'm like, no, if I just become this cool girl that there was these fun parties, we'll be popular. And I always wondered why like certain people who look a certain way, they're the more popular ones, right? So I would also try to like really pretend to be like them. I never also had a really stable friend group. I had two best friends, but our relationship was really toxic. It was like, oh, if you don't do this, then I'm gonna leave you as a friend, and I know you have no other friends. So if you don't do this, then you're gonna be a loner. So I always felt like a lot of manipulation, going on.
I mean, even to the degree of like wanting love, because we didn't feel it. Like when I was 14, this was at the tail end of 8th grade. I was really struggling, like feeling severe loneliness, and I was depressed, and I was ready to end my life. And I remember being obsessed with it too. Like I researched so many methods for so long, because I would try to talk to mom and dad like I'm going through this, and they're like, oh, like that doesn't exist. Like sad. Why are you sad? Don't be sad. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm sad. Like, why can't you just see me? Like all I wanted to do was be seen. Yeah, and like I remember seeing my friends hanging out and like not inviting me and just feeling like so alone. So, to the point you were saying earlier, it's like self-harm was a way to mask the emotional pain that was being felt, because it just felt like there was no other option. Coming out of a near-death experience, especially one where I almost took my own life, like it put things into perspective of like life is short, but there's a lot that there is to be grateful for, and like finding resilience and coming out of it was like, okay, there's got to be other ways to heal, right?
I'm curious.
And that is possible through like finding hobbies or tapping into pursuits that could bring about.
Yeah, but even during that time of period, it is hard to find that.
But going into high school, like, okay, like from a social standpoint, like I started doing what it took to be liked, and so that's when I started driving underage, and then eventually, lots and lots of vaping and, abusing substances was a huge part of high school and partying. And it was definitely can't say it was like, the way to heal, but it was my way of healing was just to have fun and connect with that sense of joy.
I think the craziest thing I did was just completely leave like Michigan. I didn't graduate college. I nearly gave my entire family, my parents, a heart attack from doing so.
Yeah, let's dive into this chapter. So, this is sort of like a period of finding your own path and.
Yeah, or part of me, the moment I knew I could never depend on mom and dad for anything, right? I'm grateful they gave us the house and food as a child to grow up, but this is the moment when I knew I could never rely on mom and dad ever again.
Like emotionally or...
No, financially too, because it's like, no, they also talk to us in a way, it's like, it's power, right? They wanted power. They liked controlling us. Yeah, like, I'm the one that I brought you, gave you a better life in America. I did all this. When you guys grow up, Dad and mom still say it sometimes.
Yeah, and
so
I
pay us back.
Away,
Yeah, or threaten us. Yeah.
Or even Andy. I mean, he would say things like, oh, you went through college. Well, here's the thing. We had the good fortune and privilege of them bankrolling college and university. But I remember Andy holding that over me and, saying well, I had to pay for school during my time, so you should too, and you should, have to do this to feel like, like you have a sense of worth or self-worth, and it was that kind of language that was, it just created a sense of guilt for doing any action. It was well, how do I find my own path without feeling guilty, right? And so even in university, why did you study what you studied in university?
Oh yeah, when first of all, my path was always controlled by mom and dad, right? I wanted to be an artist, I want to be in film. They're like, hell no. So that's why they're like, okay, let's go down this path of being a pro figure skater, and that didn't work out. They're like, okay, go out this way. They never put me in an environment where I can explore more of what I liked or support me into what I liked, right? But since I saw mom and dad, they were an example of being engineers and having a stable job. I'm like, okay, at least that's something that I do want. Or if mom and dad are so anal about me paying them back for existing in this world, right? I need to make some money, give them money. It made sense to me that being an engineer would give me that financial stability and freedom, and then to support or give back to mom and dad. And so going to school, I'm actually grateful, right, that I learned it. I do like coding. I'm a coder.
You studied computer engineering.
Electrical, actually, and then...
Electrical engineering.
Yeah,
right.
But I switched my major 3 times because I was like, I don't really know if I like this, or now I'm finally exploring what I like, right? And mom and dad would always be like, oh, so... They never liked us switching, right? Or experimenting, but I always felt like I needed to try and see more, to do more things, to understand more about myself, what I like and what I don't like.
There's the was it opportunity cost, or was it the lost cost fallacy or something like, oh, you've already gotten all your credits in this degree.
Oh, yeah.
We paid this much to do it. Just keep doing it and see it through. Pivoting is not an option. You pick a lane and you stay in it.
It was actually senior year when I ended up in the psych ward.
For some level of context. 4 years before our 20th birthday, pretty gruesome experience happened. And
see, my brain won't even let me talk about it.
Post experience, there's this desire to maintain face, and there's this need to keep showing up in school. And keep going on the track you're doing. And I started my business just before this, bro.
I was literally a psycho. I remember you and Ethan, you guys taking me to the hospital many times for having becoming so manic.
You were
and
manic,
crazy,
and
they were putting horse tranquilizer in me. I remember being in so much pain. I was like, Brent, I'm gonna die. I can't handle it. And it was driving me crazy.
I would have a lot of sleepless nights because you're like, Brendan, tonight's the night I die. And I was like, not on my watch. Life prevails, and here we are now, right? It's choosing the light. So, going from that experience, mom and dad and, Andy, they were like, okay, well, you have all this trauma. You went through like literally the most difficult things anyone can experience, but it was like you have to stay in electrical engineering, become an engineer, but like as you switched your degrees, you went the creative pursuit. Like, do you want to share how that like leaving Michigan and like that whole environment and like what that looked like for you in the years following?
I can't stay in Michigan anymore. I can't be around mom and dad anymore. My only way out was money, right? I need to save a certain amount of money for me to leave Michigan. And I knew back in my mind it was always New York, because I saw in the movies, I want to pursue creatives and arts, and it was New York. I want to say you can't just have money and then everything's solved. No, because if you're not able to leave an environment and adapt, right? Like you said, you're very adaptive. I think that is the most important, because even when I left Michigan, not knowing anybody in New York, right? First time being from a small town suburbs to a big city, being able on my terms to figure out what to do, right? I'm like, okay, I have no job. Where do I start? So that's how I got into sales, right? Real estate, and then walking dogs. But the moment you realize that there's abundance of resources of how to make money, that when I did that, then it didn't seem so scary that I wasn't on a traditional path of graduating.
Yeah, like spending time to earn like a fixed paycheck. Like how can you then create exponential wealth?
Or I think my hope or my light was from being completely by myself and having days where I was happy, or having small wins or big wins that I've done solely by myself without these external forces of saying you should do this, you should not do that, right? I fully made these decisions by myself. I think now I'm starting to become more grounded, now that I've really trying to work through this, processing everything and seeing it in a better perspective, that I'm starting to become more grounded and less of an avoidant. Because how long would you say it's been since we've really gotten this close or closer? I would say since I left New York, right?
Yeah.
2021.
Post grad, like I was like training mom and dad how to be empathetic people. So while you're off in your whole world, I was like, okay, I don't want to like change mom and dad in the way they were, because learning radical acceptance really was a big part of my healing journey, to just like be at peace with how things are. But doing that, I was very much wanting to continue to build Capnos with a greater marketing or branding, but I found that it was very difficult to do that because I specialize in supply chain, in infrastructure, in processes and strategy. And I mean, even when I moved to San Diego, like you're saying, come to Shanghai, like come be in China with me, come do that. And I was very hesitant to like feel that I have the trust to kind of like rely on you. I've made the move, like I visited in March to China to see our largest production order, and then after being with you for literally 2 days, and you're like, Brendan, cut your hair, like get your branding together, figure it out. Like you just brought this like energy that I was like, whoa, like, you're so like real with me, and we have this like twin like trust. Like you're gonna say it straight to my face, and you're gonna be like, this is what you're gonna have to change to turn around to make your goals come true. And I was like, that is some great energy. Like I'm not gonna find that from going on like getting a contractor or like going through a hiring stage. So then like coming here to China and then bringing you on as my creative director. And so like, what's it like now for you to like have the means to have like structure and maybe in alignment with the goals that what I'm building, and like how has that shifted even your own perspective on projects? And
how to explain it? Okay, well, most of the times that I have stopped on the ventures is because either my business partner at the time didn't recognize me as an equal business partner, or they tried to pursue something more than just business, right? Trying to get sexual, and then making comments, and it's like, back then me would, take it in and be like, oh, it's just this way. But when I realized that I'm also just as capable as them of, being the strategist as well, making the money myself as well, right? They put me in these positions for a reason, but they don't want me to know too much, because they're the ones that are actually in the back. They're making the money, closing the deals, and I always want to be part of that, right? But I feel like you're actually letting me in on that, if that makes sense, right? Like you're making sure that I'm not getting cheated or used or manipulated. So I actually feel that sense from you, right?
And as we go about that, like, even I felt like, oh, giving the keys to the kingdom is a big jump. Like, it's like scary, and I've built this for so long, and it's like, oh, we've been doing things for so long, but it's like there's this mindset of like being willing to pivot and being willing to trust your team to do the job. And I've done that from day one with my current team members, and it's like, well, I know my strengths and I know yours, and I want you I want to be able to like foster your vision, because it aligns with mine, and see how, like, when given the resources, that you're able to experiment and showcase like just what you're capable of. Now that we're both in China, continuing to build Capnos, there exists a sort of cultural difference in how entrepreneurship is approached. Like in the US, with the American dream, there's this like, oh, anyone can become an entrepreneur, anyone can start a business. But being in China, there's certain limitations that exist, and even just culturally, just a variance in mindset that may not allow for children of immigrants to have that kind of same mentality or similar sort of outlook toward, oh, I can create my own path.
And I've recognized this pattern of when I share more of my story of like, oh, I don't have a job here in corporate and I don't go to school here. They're just like shocked. They're like, okay, wait, how old are you? Or like, and then they start getting curious about my financial situation. I'm being like, oh, maybe she's just mommy and daddy's money. Maybe she's also like a Nepo baby or something. And I'm just like, nope. Or even when I then open up and talk about, oh, I have my own real estate business in Florida. Or, oh, now, or I want to grow my own YouTube channel. Or, my brother has his own company. It just like goes through their head of like, oh, maybe this is just temporary. Or I don't know, there still isn't like that same type of respect. Like let's say, I share about my story, what I'm doing in career, and then someone else says, oh, I'm getting my MBA at, and I'm gonna try to get into a job in like this industry. Like the safe route is still either to just go back to school, continue school, find a job, or like to work for somebody else, which is also very important, right? Like when you work for someone else and with a team, you can learn a lot, build those credentials. But I see it as like, that's always going to be there, right? I see it as like, wait, why not you, if there is something you're curious about, you want to explore and try it, go do it, go in with no experience, and then you'll get the experience. And then that is something so valuable you can put on your resume. Because now I'm like, okay, after trying all this stuff, I hate it, I need some more stability. I generally feel a lot less pressured or scared when I was in like college of like, if I don't pass this test, if I don't, have this 4.0, present this resume, or work for this internship at this thing, like, who's gonna want to work with me? Now I'm like, wait, now I've kind of built my own resume or to foster those skill sets that are just as compatible or compatible.
Well, there's often a fear of failure that exists, and that is a significant reason for why people don't pursue something. And even us doing a podcast and like getting all this equipment, putting ourselves, telling our story out there, like there's that like, ooh, this could be cringe. Maybe no one watches it, maybe no one does, but maybe someone does, and maybe you write a comment, leave a comment below, sharing like, hey, you resonated with something like that. And for us, like, it's this sense of value and connection that's created. And for me, like, I found a joy in helping people live happier, healthier lives toward a cleaner, greener planet. It's like, despite their, the scariness of like putting ourselves out there, like we're doing it because it's like this belief that like, hey, we aren't hearing these stories out there, but there's so many people out there, not even just who've made it, but like so many like, first gen or second gen kids who are like struggling with these similar stories, and are like we should have our stories out there, and like feel connected, and like
whatever you're fearful of, doing what you're fearful of, and then finding out that you survived, then there's this emotion or this enlightenment that's unlocked where you're like, wait, I want to try the next thing that scares me, right? Because then the more and more you practice it and do that, then it feels like I feel not like crazy, but I genuinely feel like I can do anything, right? And it feels so good. It feels so good to do that. And I really want to help people get to that level.
Yeah. We'll continue telling our story and finding ways to just connect. Because at the end of the day, like it's in the moments where we decide to connect with others, to find those who align with our values or align with just like creating value for society, for other people, for the people we care about, that there's this connection and there almost like a deeper purpose of belonging. And I truly believe that it's through connection that we're able to build stronger bonds and create understanding and really just build more resilient societies.
Yeah, I know people have their own stories and different experiences that they've gone through, right? And I just don't know if, because I feel like I've moved through so many different friend groups, so many different cities, meeting so many people. There's just always this, and I would spend time, right, and actual effort to get to know them, have one-on-ones, ask the type of questions, right? But it's so actually hard to get to that deeper level of like, maybe is everyone just showing that, you know, everything's fine or that how it is. Yeah. Or maybe people are just happy, right, where they are, and that's good for them.
By sitting here together in our first podcast episode, we've been at length to dive into what is it like having our identities, what is it like being twins, experiencing a shared experience of growing up, but also like in choosing our own path and then finding our connection again. And there's so much more we can dive into and that we will be releasing in subsequent episodes on topics like in-depth entrepreneurship, right? Like tapping into our strengths within entrepreneurship, like lessons
as well.
Lessons
Lots
for
of lessons.
setting up structure, of being able to like develop a resilient mindset, and really just the different projects we're working on. And we want to keep building this community. We'd love to hear your comments. You know, what resonated with you? Have you had similar stories of your upbringing? You know, have you pursued risks or entrepreneurship, and what has that looked like in your experience? We'd love to hear more and just have a conversation about that together.
Yes, I look forward to those.
Cool.